and welcome back to Healing Gems. I'm Gemma. Thanks for joining me again today. So today I want to talk to you about how I have gone from 20% to 70% functioning, having less crashes, having much quicker recovery times, and having much more freedom in my life to do all the things that I want to do. So just a little brief history of my journey with chronic fatigue. So I initially got ill with chronic fatigue back in 2013, and it took me probably about 2 years back then to get to a level where I was back up, climbing mountains, doing things like aerial hoop, which if you don't know what that is, it's like a circusy kind of hanging from hoops and doing acrobatics, to working probably over part-time hours. And then my journey from there up until about 2019, I was not 100% healed, but I was living life to the full. I was living, working full time. I was, doing all the things that normal people do, and maybe just have to incorporate in a little bit more rest than, say, the normal person. However, then what happened? COVID. So I reacted really badly to the COVID jabs, and in between those jabs, like, my health was really starting to fluctuate and suffer. And then I caught a virus. I don't know if it was COVID or what it was, at the tail end of 2022, and it knocked me sideways, like worse than I had ever been in my journey with chronic fatigue up until that date. So from the end of 2022 to now, I want to tell you what I did within that year in order to go from being quite severe chronic fatigue, ME, to being able to live life again and enjoy myself and want to be here in order to do all the things that make me happy. So I haven't posted for a while because I have been on holiday. I went to CFS and I did so much walking. I've been arranging birthday parties for people. I'm going to be a birthing partner for one of my friends. So I've been going to like antenatal classes and organising baby showers, and so I've been doing a lot. So I haven't posted for a while, but I felt like this was a great time for me to be able to reflect a little bit on my journey and give you some insights about what I've done to get to this stage, which took me about a year and a half, and also to give you hope that you are not stuck where you are right now. To have that belief that things can change for you, just as they've changed for me, just as they've changed for countless of other people who do all these recovery stories on YouTube. Okay, so I'm going to give you a bit of a rundown of the things that I did, and then I'm going to tell you, so wait until the end, the things that I did but would not recommend doing, or I would not think about doing again if I ever was to have like a major crash. So first and foremost, and I feel that this doesn't get talked about enough, is rest. Deep rest. Listening to your body, giving it ample rest. And I know rest is boring and no one wants to just be resting all the time, but when you initially crash, when you are in the thick of chronic fatigue, this is the thing that you have to do. And it's got to be good rest, deep rest. The things like meditation, yoga nidra was my absolute go-to. I would do things like, maybe I'd watch a TV program for half an hour, and then I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go and do half an hour or an hour's yoga nidra to rebuild my energy levels. That was such a staple for me on my journey. And there's so many yoga nidras out there. I have got one on my channel, but there's also people like Christian Rose, Jacob Mark, or Mark Jacob, I can't remember which way around it is, and Ali, I can't remember her surname actually, Ali Boothright, that's it. they're really nice ones to do, but you know, you've got to find the ones that that you resonate with. So deep rest is absolutely crucial. And you could, you know, if you don't want to do yoga nidra sometimes, you could just listen to an audiobook. Close your eyes, listen to an audiobook. I listened to loads of audiobooks over the last year, just allowed myself to just get absorbed in the story, shut my eyes and listen, and just block out every other sense, because even watching TV can be quite overstimulating when you're at that really heightened stage of chronic fatigue. So deep rest, discipline. So discipline with myself, discipline and setting boundaries. So I would have to be so disciplined to go and rest, or I'd have to be disciplined to break up my day into rest, activity, rest, activity, and stick to it. You know, I had to really, even on the days where I felt like I had more energy, where I wanted to do more, I had to have that discipline to be like, no, I can't do that. I've got to stick to the plan for now, and then we'll slowly increase our energy and our activity that way. So you do have to have a lot of self-discipline. You have to set boundaries with other people, which can be difficult at first, because people don't understand actually how limited you are in your energy, and you need to try and explain that in the best way that you possibly can. But you have to set boundaries with them. So I would say things like, okay, I can come, but I'm only going to stay for an hour, and if I stayed for an hour and a half, then that was a bonus. And as I got better and better, I'd be like, okay, I'm coming, but I'm only going to stay for 2 hours. Or I'd say to people, can you come to me rather than me coming to you, because me traveling to you is going to take up a certain amount of energy, and then I'll be able to not spend as much time with you. So it's all those little things that you can put into place, that, you know, they're clear boundaries to other people. They're aware, you know, rather than you turning up and them thinking that you're going to stay for like the half a day or a full day, and then you after an hour saying, oh, I'm going, and then being disappointed and maybe upset with you. You know, from the beginning, you've set a clear message that you can only manage X amount, and therefore you are going to stick with that. Okay, so discipline and boundaries are very, very important. So the next one, increasing activity slowly. Now, with activity, you do have to increase your activity levels in order to get better from chronic fatigue. And this is a form of brain training. And it's a form of brain training that no one talks about. Everyone sells these brain training packages, and they don't really talk about the brain training which involves the activities, which I feel is the most important form of brain training that you could possibly do. And I'll touch on more on that later when we come to the brain training section. So increasing your activity slowly. So depending on what level you're at, this might be, if you're bedbound, for example, it might just be wriggling your toes and fingers, and maybe moving your arms and legs once a day, and then building it up to twice a day. If you're at a higher functioning level, it might be, I'm going to walk to the kitchen twice, and instead of once that day, and rest. It might be, if you're again a little bit more functioning, I'm going to go for a 5-minute walk around the block, and then I'm going to come back and checking with how I'm feeling, you know, maybe do some breathing practices, do some meditation, get your body back into a healing state, let your body know that you are safe to do these activities, because it's not the activity that is the problem, it's what your brain is registering that the activity is a problem, and then sending false messages to your body that you are in danger. So you have to slowly teach your brain, by increasing activity very slowly, that activity is safe and that you can do it without any repercussions of symptoms. Okay, so that's slowly increasing activity. So emotions. So again, emotions are a big part of possibly why we got into the state of chronic fatigue as well. I know for me, I kind of bottled up emotions and didn't express them enough, or, set clear boundaries with people and all that kind of thing. But when you're in the thick of chronic fatigue, I mean, I have never cried so much in my life as I have done over, say, like the past 2 years with this, this massive relapse that I had. It really does send you to the depths of despair, to hopelessness like you've never known it, to having really quite dark and not very nice thoughts about what you want to do with your life if you were to carry on feeling like this. So you've got to let those emotions out, and whether that be through talking to a counsellor, talking to a friend, EFT. I love EFT because I can say exactly what I think and feel without upsetting anybody else. You can just do EFT wherever you are. It really does get the body into a much more healing state after you've let the emotions out. So I totally recommend that, and I've got lots of EFT videos on my channel that you can do for various emotions and feelings that you're going to feel having chronic fatigue. I suggest, you scream, shout, hit a pillow, get it out, because chronic fatigue can make you so frustrated, so angry that sometimes you're just got all this rage inside of you, which is not going to do you any good. So you've got to get those emotions out. So whichever way you feel is best, obviously at no danger to yourself or to others, then release them that way. So laughter and connection with other people is important. We are social human beings. We were built to be in a community and to need relationships or need connection with other people. So, whether it be you can manage a 5-minute telephone call or a Zoom call, or you can have a friend pop round, or you can go out and see a friend, whatever stage you're at, connecting with someone that you trust, that, you find their company easy, then that connection is really, really important. And you might not want to talk about chronic fatigue with friends and family when you connect with them. You might want to just talk about other things in life, with them, which make you happy. And maybe if you can't do that, then being with a pet is equally as important and brings that sense of connection. My cat has brought me a lot of feelings of being heard, being a sense of belonging, giving you that empathy. They can be very helpful on your healing journey. So don't underestimate the powers of a furry little being in your life. And laughter is such an important thing. If I was feeling particularly bad, maybe once I've had a cry and got the worst of it out my system, I would put on something that I found funny. Obviously, what everyone finds funny is different, but maybe it's funny cat videos. You can tell I love cats on YouTube. Maybe it's listening to your favorite comedian. I have listened to the Ricky Gervais, Carl Pilkington and Steve Merchant podcasts from years back so many times because they just make me laugh and they put me in a good mood, and they just make you feel that life isn't as bad when you're laughing at some of the things that they're talking about. So whatever it is that you find funny, find that and introduce that into your life on a regular and daily basis. So that's quite a few bits there. So brain training, I know this is a huge area in chronic fatigue, and from what I see and for packages that I've bought myself, the main emphasis is on this brain training, that brain training is going to heal you and cure you just in itself. And maybe it does for some people. I didn't find that for me. Yes, it has helped, but not in the way that these brain retraining packages are sold. And I feel sometimes they can do more harm than good for some people because you put so much pressure on yourself to do them. You feel like you've got to be doing it all the time in the day, which is exhausting in itself. And there's all these high, it's pressurized. You've bought this package, you've spent your money, which obviously is limited when you have chronic fatigue because maybe you're not working, and you really, really want it to work, and you put so much pressure on yourself, and then it doesn't, and it's disappointing. So I did do brain retraining, and I tried lots of different ones where you have to visualize and you do the stop technique, and you have to turn around and do hand signals and all of this stuff. And I think it opened my mind to that the brain is involved and that you need to work with your brain in order to heal from chronic fatigue. But in the end, I stopped doing a lot of those things because it was too much pressure and I didn't feel that it works. In some instances, trying to visualize things, and it just made me worse because I'm not very good at doing those visualizations, therefore it caused me more stress. So the brain retraining that I did that I feel has really helped is things like what I mentioned earlier, introducing activities slowly and reteaching your brain that activity is safe. So it might be I went and did a bit of yoga, and then I'd come back and do a somatic meditation. So if it brought up any symptoms in my body, I'd feel them, just let my body know, talk to myself, internally that I'm okay, none of these symptoms can hurt me. And that was sort of enough for my body to understand eventually when you did it consistently. Other brain retrainings would be meditation. I did a lot of meditation. I still do a lot of meditation. I really love meditation now. All of that I found calmed my nervous system down. It reduced anxiety in my body. And the meditations that I did were a lot of somatic kind of meditations, which I have a lot of them on my channel. So check those out. So meditation is a great way of brain retraining without putting too much pressure on yourself, especially the somatic types of meditation. Other brain retraining kind of techniques I used was reaffirming and reinforcing when I did feel well. So maybe I had felt well for 5 minutes and I'd had that kind of glimmer moment, which I've spoken about before. And I then reminded myself of that glimmer moment, that I can have them, and that means my body is beginning to get better. I would go back sometimes to memories where I had been doing, maybe I'd gone for a run, or where I'd, gone to a party and danced all night or something. I'd occasionally remind myself of those kind of things. In the morning when I used to wake up, a lot of people do find the symptoms are worse in the morning. I would have a very kind self-compassion routine that I did. And again, this was brain retraining. I would just give my body a hug, just really let my body know that I'm here, that there's nothing wrong, that all of these symptoms are caused by my brain, my body is actually okay. And I'd keep placing my hands on my body, and if there was various body parts that hurt, like say my legs, I would just gently rest my hands on my legs and just let my body know that I am safe. It's okay to relax. I don't need to be worried about these symptoms. They will pass. Nothing's forever. That kind of language, soothing, soft language, as you would talk to a child if they were ill. So all of those things I constitute as brain retraining, but they're much more softer and they're much more gentle. And for my brain and the way that maybe my body works, that was best for me. But again, you do have to find what works for you. You might find that visualization comes to you quite easily, and you do get on with the kind of more visualization brain retraining. But the number one point I would like to make about brain retraining is you could do all the visualization in the world, but you have to start doing activity at some point. You have to start increasing your bandwidth at some point in order to get well. There's really no other way out. And which this leads me on to my second point, being prepared to not feel well. Being prepared to have a crash or a dip or an adjustment period, whatever you want to call it, preparing yourself for that and knowing that you are going to have them, knowing that when you start to increase your activity, you are going to have these moments where you need to rest. You know, it's almost like this energy, activity increases, then your brain gets worried and gets scared and gets fearful and starts sending you symptoms in your body where so you retreat a little bit and then slowly you start to improve. And I found after every crash, after every dip, I would be able to do a little bit more. And it might have been minute at the beginning. You know, there were some points, sometimes I felt like I'm getting nowhere, nothing is changing, and I'm going to be like this forever. I really did feel like that at one point in my healing journey. I felt like nothing was working. And I just kept going. I just kept going because I had this belief and I had this knowledge that I knew it was possible. So being prepared for crashes and, you know, allowing yourself to move through them without beating yourself up too much. I know it's hard to go through a crash and you do think, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that, I wouldn't be feeling like this right now. But to go through them as gracefully as you can. So that again leads on quite nicely to another point of pressure. The pressure that you put on yourself to get well, to be better within a certain time frame, that is not going to help you. You have to reduce the pressure. And I found when I stopped trying so hard to be well and just went with the flow, did my meditations, did my EFT, did, you know, whatever the brain retraining that I was doing, I just did them without expecting anything to change. And then I started to notice a change, because when I was fighting it, when I was in the thick of like, you know, nothing's changing, I've got to watch more YouTube videos, I've got to figure this out, I've got, you know, I was in totally the wrong frame of mind, my nervous system was all jacked up and I was stressed out to the eyeballs about not getting well. And I'm not saying don't watch any videos, because obviously I want you to watch my videos to help you heal, but don't get obsessive about it. You know, don't sit there and watch all of them back to back. You know, limit yourself to one a day, because your brain will start to think there's something wrong. If you're constantly feeding yourself information about chronic fatigue, how to get better, blah, 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 your brain thinks, okay, there is a problem and I really need to focus on this all the time. So limit yourself. That's what I started to do. I started to limit myself to one video a day, on whether it be a recovery video, whether it be like a new technique, whether it be a meditation that I hadn't tried before. But generally I stuck with the same ones because I liked them and they worked. So you know, you do you, but just remove the pressure. And as I said, belief is huge. I mean, and they're even beginning to see this in the medical world, that like with placebo and things like that, belief plays such a massive part of healing and getting better. I'm not saying that you just start saying, right, I believe I'm going to heal from chronic fatigue and magically you're going to get better. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. But you have to have this core belief, or start working towards this core belief. It is possible to get well, because you've got to let your brain know that you can do this. And whether you build that belief through doing EFT videos, whether you're through watching recovery stories of other people who have healed and got themselves better, that's how you start to believe, to increase this belief system that you can absolutely do this. So that's crucial to work on. And then other little things that I did, which I think had an impact over time, was doing things like getting outside. So if the sun was shining, I'd get outside, whether it be for 5 minutes, sit in the sun, feel the sun on my body. You know, one for vitamin D3, because that's essential for your body and being able to have good health. but also the sun is energizing. The sun makes you feel good. You know, the warmth of the sun is like really nice on your muscles. And that really helped me just to be able to sit in the sun and feel the sun on my body. And it did make me feel a lot better. Also, being out in nature, whether you can get to the park or whether you're just going to look in your garden, you know, being in nature, connecting with nature, this is what we were meant to do as human beings. That's how we initially grew up, you know, in nature. So it's so important to get back to that. I found that I got into like feeding the birds. So, you know, I'd buy bird feed and then I'd put them in the feeder and I'd watch the birds. We started to get foxes in our garden. I started looking after bees because for some reason they just started like coming into my garden and keeling over on the grass because it got cold and they couldn't then, so I started taking them inside and nurturing them and then letting them back out. We've now got a hedgehog as well that seems to have appeared in our garden. And I found that caring for something else that was in a far worse state than me or needed my help was really healing for me. I mean, I am a big animal lover anyway, but I found that just doing those kind of things completely distracted me from chronic fatigue and worrying about myself all the time and thinking, okay, there's a bigger purpose out there, of things that I could be doing and helping other things that need a little bit of help as well. So whatever again it is that floats your boat, you know, try and find that. Okay, so I know this is quite a long video and it's nearly at the end now, but I wanted to just run through the things that I did do that I wouldn't do again. So this was things like spending a load of money on supplements. So I do take supplements now. You know, I take a multivitamin, magnesium, vitamin D3, I think it's fish oil. So I take all up the sort of like the basic essential ones, but I was investing money in all sorts of weird and wonderful supplements and herbs, and some of them made me really ill. Some of them increased my symptoms. So I would stay away from that, because your body's already in a really heightened state. So putting anything else into your body that you have to process or that is unfamiliar, and you know, we're not sometimes 100% sure when we go to some of these health practitioners where it's come from. So I would definitely do that to save myself a lot of money, but also I had a lot of scary moments where I took something and had such a bad reaction to it. Strict diets. Again, I've tried so many different diets, you know, from going vegan to can't just eating meat and or the raw food, and again my body couldn't handle any of that stuff and it made me worse. So now I just eat a really healthy diet. I prepare most of my meals from scratch. I don't eat processed stuff. I don't eat huge amounts of sugar. So for me, like, it's just a healthy, balanced diet that I eat now. And you know, I will have chocolate every now and then, and I will have the odd bit of cake, and I'll treat myself without feeling guilty. I have cups of tea every day, and for me that doesn't affect me. In fact, I find tea quite comforting, and that was something that, you know, I would look forward to, especially when I was really at my worst, was having like a bit of a biscuit and a tea was like the highlight of the day. So, you know, don't deny yourself all of these things, because again, that creates even more stress. Forcing myself to do things was another thing. You know, I thought, oh, maybe if I just force myself to be well and think well, and then I'll just, you know, just do it. Don't do that. That completely backfired as well. You know, I wasn't listening to my body, and you really have to get in tune with your body when you have chronic fatigue. Yes, you have to push yourself a little bit, but not to the extent where you are going to really make yourself ill. So not forcing yourself, listening to your body and paying attention to what your body needs. is what you really do need to do. So reduce the pressure. Again, we've talked about pressure before in the last one, but definitely take your foot off the gas pedal and reduce the pressure to be well. Just be how you are. You know, however you wake up, you wake up. However you go to bed, you go to bed. You just accept that this is the state of being for now. And I promise you, just by taking that pressure off and just by accepting where you are in this current moment, will put your body in a much more healing state. And lastly, comparing yourself to others. I compared myself to, you know, my friends. I've got a twin sister who's healthy, and it was hard not to compare myself to everyone else in my life and what they were doing and what they were able to do. And it caused me a lot of upset when I did compare myself to everybody else. And even comparing myself to other people I read about who had healed or had made progress really, really quickly, you know, that was not helpful for me either. So I'm my own person. I'm on my own healing journey. I would take the information from all these people and apply it to what works for me without comparing myself to others. And just as a side note on comparing, that's probably something you did, I know I did a lot before I actually got ill, you know, always comparing myself, always thinking that I could be doing better or I could be achieving more because that person had, or this person had done that, and why hadn't I? But anyway, that's another video. So I really hope this helped. I know it's been quite a long one, and, you know, feel free to watch it again and break it down as to what you find manageable in order to process the information. But if you have any questions, please put them down below. Please subscribe to my channel. You know, I'm trying to get to this 1,000 subscribers mark, so it would be really helpful if you could subscribe. Please forward this to anyone else you think it might be helpful for. And thank you very much for listening. Namaste.